So today we're going to talk to you about cellular respiration inside of a living organism. And the first step of cellular respiration is called glycolysis. So we first start out with glucose, and so glucose breaks down. So the ATP helps break the glucose down into two pyruvate molecules that have 3 carbon. So the carbon inside glucose, there's 6 carbon, but they're going to be broken down by ATP, so then we're going to be left off with 3 carbon of 2 pyruvates. Then the next is ATP is also, there's ADP floating around, and the ADP plus the phosphate molecule is going to be it's called the process of phosphorylation, which the phosphate is added to ADP to make ATP. So then our ADP and our phosphate make ATP, so that for the outcome there should be 2 nets of ATP. And our next is NAD. So NAD is what is inside the cytoplasm, and it's gonna be reduced with hydrogen atoms from the glucose. So then our end product will be NADH with the hydrogen being positive, so making the NADH positive. So here we have what is called the link reaction. It's in between the mitochondria membrane, and this is where we have our pyruvates that came in from out of the cytoplasm inside the membrane. So the three carbon pyruvate will then be decarboxylized into 3 pyruvates into making them only to 2 pyruvates, which is called acetyl-CoA. And the next we have NAD. New NAD inside the membrane is then going to be reduced with the hydrogen bonds again, making 2 NADH. Okay, so the second step of cellular respiration is called the Krebs cycle, and the Krebs cycle is going to happen inside of the matrix inside the mitochondria. So in the Krebs cycle, so first we have oxalate, which is a 4 carbon molecule, and we add it to acetyl-CoA, which has 2 carbon molecules, and so those are going to be added together, making citrate. What citrate now is going to be a 6 carbon molecule. So then after the citrate, the NAD that we have inside the matrix is going to be reduced into NADH. So after the NADH has been reduced, we are then left with decarboxylation of CO2. So then the CO2 is released from the acetyl-CoA. Now that we have, instead of 6 carbon, we're going to have 5 carbon. Then after the 5 carbon, NAD is then going to be reduced to NADH again, and then the process of carbon dioxide being released again, and then leaving us with only 4 carbon. So now that we have the carbon 4, then it's going to go back to the process of NAD being reduced, making NADH, and then we have a new molecule of FAD. It's then also going to be reduced to FADH, which then is going to start the phosphorylation of ADP, adding the phosphate to make ATP. And then after phosphorylation and making ATP, then we go back with oxalate, then starting the Krebs cycle over. So the third and final step of cellular respiration is called electron transport. And electron transport is occurring on the inner membrane of the mitochondria. So first here we have the NAD and FAD. So here we have the NADH and the FADH. So then now it's going to be oxidized, meaning it's going to get taken away the hydrogen atom. So then the hydrogen atom is going to go up the membrane. See the electrons? They're going to pass over each of the membrane, each across the membrane. So it's going to hop and hop over to each one of the proteins. So electron, the red E, is going to go hop over to the second one, and the second one's going to hop over to the third one. And then while this process of electrons jumping is happening, chemiosmosis is happening with the hydrogen. Meaning the hydrogen will go up the hydrogen ion will go up the membrane across the electrochemical gradient from a lower concentration to a high concentration, and that's the process of chemiosmosis. So after the electron goes to the third protein on the membrane, then the hydrogen from the high concentration will go through this here on the right hand side, ATP synthase. So the hydrogen will go through it, and the product of it is making ATP. So from our ADP plus our phosphate, from phosphorylation we make ATP, and the hydrogen atoms go from a high concentration to a low concentration, and therefore the oxygen inside the low concentration will add with the hydrogen ions, and then creating water, and then that's the process of electron transport. So our end product should be 6 water, 32 ATP, 6 NAD, and 2 FAD, thus completing cellular respiration.